Hello, this is a video on the subject of emotional violence. When emotional violence is overt, it's not so problematic to identify and address. Examples of overt emotional violence would be name calling, intimidating behaviour, threatening behaviour, shouting, damaging your property, um, ruining important events for you. Things like that are very easy to identify as signs that you're not in a good relationship. But usually, emotional violence will begin in more subtle ways. So, a scenario where this might come up is someone who gets very angry if you don't respond to messages or return calls very quickly. So they might feel very angry and very upset, and they might need a lot of reassurance and swift responses in order for them to feel secure. In itself, that's not emotionally violent. That's just the person stating their level of needs, and you might not be able to meet their needs, which is okay. You might not have that much energy to pour into a relationship, and that's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. What would be emotionally violent about a person having that sort of problem with the absence of reassurance is if they start to accuse you of there being something wrong with you, or have it being a character defect of yours. So they might accuse you of playing mind games with them to try and make them feel insecure, to mess with their head, that it's deliberate and that it's done with malicious intent. Or they could say that you're a very selfish person, you're very self-absorbed, you're very insensitive. That how could you possibly not understand how insensitive it was to not reply to them quickly? So that's starting to really have a go at you and become quite attacking in nature. It might be made even worse in that scenario by the same person displaying much worse versions of the same behaviour. So they may feel that you're a terrible person, or you're playing mind games and messing with their head, or that you're very selfish and insensitive, but they may take 10 times as long to respond to your messages. And if it becomes quite chronic and you express upset about that, they may be dismissive of your emotions and suggest that you're unstable or needy, or that there's something wrong with you. So those are the subtle ways in which this sort of emotionally violent style of relating can be set up. Another example would be if their behaviour is quite overtly emotionally violent and they're very volatile and accuse you of things that you're not doing and fly off the handle and shout and intimidate. But then when you have a normal proportionate response to that behaviour, you might start to shake and show signs that you're afraid of them and you don't feel safe, or you might start to cry. Then an emotionally violent response to that would be to claim that you're unstable, that there's something wrong with you, you're unstable and overly emotional. They might even question, whether you might need to go on some medication, and really just try to make it all about there being something wrong with you, when in fact the behaviour in itself is what is unacceptable, and you're simply responding in a proportionate and understandable way. So I hope that this was helpful in just introducing the idea of the more subtle forms of emotional violence and the messages that they give about the other person's attitude towards you and the other person's level of respect for you. if it is one rule for them and another for you, if they behave as though their emotions are the most important thing in the world, but your emotions are silly and invalid and um, almost pathological, and that it might signal that you have some sort of psychiatric problem. um, just go away, like once that your emotions have settled, and ask yourself, do I need to take this on board? Is there something wrong with me, or is that just quite an unfair assessment of the way that I've reacted? Just make sure that in the early stages of a relationship, you don't start to feel that there's something wrong with you, for simply having normal, understandable reactions to bad behaviour. Okay, thanks for listening. I hope this has been helpful, and take care of yourself best you can.